Welcome to episode 12 of Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. JJ is off, but I got Alex in the booth. He's joining me tonight, and we are going to be talking drafting and sealed for Shadows of the Galaxy, as well as we're going to do set 2 leader rankings because I'm excited to tell you which one of the leaders I feel is the best out of the bunch. With that being said, let me bring in my co-host in crime. How are you tonight, Sir Alex?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Nothing super eventful this weekend. Just excited for next week when all the pre-releases come out. There's a whole bunch around me, so
Yeah, so how many pre-releases are you going to?
I'm going to try to make it to at least 3. I have not signed up for any of them because I'm a bad person, but the ones I'm going to don't have pre-registration, so I can't mess it up more.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And we're going to I have 3 I'm signed up for. So I only had to pay for one of them. So I kind of in the same boat you are. If you don't have anything Friday night, you should come hang out with us on Friday night in Zealand because we got an amazing one. We got I don't know, we have actually quite a few people signed up. I think we have 4 spots left open and that's it. And after that we are full.
Is it like a 32 person? Because that's what like most stores I've heard have been getting about 32 kits or so.
Yeah, we got 29 kits. So we limited it to 24 and if we hit 24, we will bump up and open it up to 5 more people. But the problem is we have locals. Everybody wants their pre-release kit if they're not going to be there, right? You know, it's like, well, I don't want
I mean, if you're not signed up, you know?
so it's like, all right. So anyway, they did sign up, but then it's kind of like, well, do you want me to take up a spot for someone else? And I'm like, no. So we capped it at 24. I will open it up if we have to. So the problem is we're competing with other stores. Like we tried really hard. There's a couple of stores we worked with to like say, hey, don't like, can we hold this on different nights? But there's so many stores doing SWU now that it's like, man, I don't know. It's like you could find it not in stock, but you can find players at every store it seems. So. And I'll be excited to see how many we get. I ordered 2 cases. I don't think I'm getting my full 2 cases. So we will see how many I actually get out of that. But it's really hard now because now I share a collection with my nephew and my son as well, who now plays. And instead of collecting his own, he's just gonna he just partners with mine and just uses ours, which is fine because he pitches in a little bit here and there. So
just take all of his hyper foils that he opens himself and call it even.
Yeah, and he gives us all of them. He has not kept a single one of the things. But he also plays I sold 2 of my Lukes, right? And he plays Lukes. Now I need more Lukes if I want to build any more decks of Luke. So, and I think that'll be once we have the new set dropped and everything, and we've been playing for a couple weeks. Maybe we'll go back and look at some of the other cards. Like, what are you still including that is still going to be valuable in the future?
Luke seems like he'll still be pretty valuable in the future.
Yeah, I think Luke's going to be valuable for the life of this set, like this game. Like as long as they allow him to be legally played, I think people should play. And I think I was a little bit down on Vader. Like I thought maybe I'm just going to kind of push Vader out to the side, but like Maul is not the same as Vader. Just so you know, it does different things, so it fits a whole different realm of category as you play through it. So. But anyway, want to go through? Do you want to do the draft discussion first, or do we want to do our leader rankings first?
Leader rankings? I didn't even look at these leader rankings, but sure, let's go.
All right, so you want to do leader rankings first? All right. So here it is. This is going to be our hot take June is what I'm going to call it, even though I think it's July now. Oh, nope, it's still June. So I can still call it hot take June. This is Shadows of the Galaxy.
June by one day.
Tier rankings. And this is essentially like we are pushing it with that June theory crafting here. But we are going to I wanted to do some of these leaders because I thought it would be kind of fun, right? To decide where some of these leaders we feel they're going to fit out, even though we haven't really gotten a chance to play with very many of them. So I don't know about you, but I have not played with 80% of these leaders. But I thought
I haven't played with any of them.
let's
I've
just
done
be.
any set two things.
You're killing me. You're killing me, Alex. It doesn't matter. We're still gonna do it. You could give us your thoughts on which one, where you feel that they are, and then when we hit to the end of set 2, what we could do is we can actually cycle back around and we could see where we ended up. So, all right. So we're gonna take Bo-Katan first. Where do you think Bo-Katan fits into this,
I'll give you
Alex?
give your opinion first because I have possibly some things to say about Bo-Katan.
All right. So do we want to read the card? Or, I don't remember. Did we read the card last time? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did, but it's also because everyone's familiar with the first set. So I'll just quickly go through what
Okay.
Bo-Katan does, right? So she comes out on 6. Her normal action, exhauster. If you attack with the Mandalorian unit that's phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. She comes out on 6. She's a 4/6, or sorry, 4/7. On attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you attacked with another Mandalorian unit this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit, which could be the same or a different unit.
Yeah. So based on the fact that we have quite a few Mandalorians, I think she fits well into a couple of different categories, but really she's doing the blue. I put her solidly in a B category, personally.
I think I'm more up on her than most of what I've heard. I would, yeah, like a B plus ish, a like lower A, higher B seems right to me. There's a lot of Mandalorians, including herself. A 4/7 stat line on a 6 isn't bad, and just the ability to do damage elsewhere is so strong. That's what makes Vader really, really good, right? Um, I think she's pretty solid. Her ability doesn't cost any resources to ping. It just means you have to attack with a Mandalorian, but there's so many in this set, and a lot of them are really good in blue and red, and she's a red, so um, that it seems like she can actually do a lot of work.
Yeah. And we also based on the fact that we have This Is the Way, right? So This Is the Way is a neutral heroic card.
Yep.
So you can play this in this deck, and you got Dark Saber. So as long as you play that on a Mandalorian, you're good to go. Dark Saber, I don't care what people say. I think Dark Saber is, when it comes to being able to play it on Mandalorian, is really, really, really good. And
Yeah,
you
I mean,
could afford it when she comes out.
yeah, there's so much like Mandalorian support that I think, and they're solid too. Like blue, you have like Mandalorian armor. You could put Mandalorian armor on her, right? And then now she gets an extra attack and 3 extra health and a shield token. It's a little bit like of an inverse Luke's lightsaber, but she becomes like a 5/10 for
Yeah.
2 resources when she comes out and a shield, which is terrifying.
Yeah, she is just, I think just hands down, I think she will. I'll agree with you. I would go. Let's go to a B, that B plus, because she's just gonna. She could just take us all by storm, and we just don't know it yet.
I'm assuming from just like what we've been seeing, right, that the Mandalorian stuff's really good, right? If we didn't have these kinds of Mandalorian cards, I don't think she'd be nearly as good, right? Because it's the whole
Mhm.
tribal thing, and I think she's going to suffer against like control, right? Because your Mandalorians probably aren't going to attack, and generally there's not a lot of units that you do damage to, but there's a lot of good Mandalorian support, and I think she fits right in.
All right, let's do Moff Gideon next. What's Moff Gideon, Alex?
So he's the starter deck guy, and you can actually pull him too in sealed and draft because they have the showcase versions of them in packs of Moff Gideon and Mando,
I
which
know,
is
isn't
pretty
that
cool.
crazy?
So Moff Gideon is just an action exhaust him. Attack with a unit that costs 3 or less. If it's attacking a unit, it gets +1/+0 for this attack. And he comes out on a 5. He's a 3/6 with overwhelm, which is kind of odd. And each friendly unit that costs 3 or less gains +1/+0 and overwhelm when attacking an enemy unit, which is important because it's not a base.
All right.
Um,
You
go
want my
for it.
you want my opinion?
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like, I think we're not ranking based on drafting or sealed. I think in draft or sealed, it's better personally, but I really have to go. if we're going for an overall constructed, it just fits into that higher end of that C tier. I don't know if I consider it a C plus. I will say it. I don't know. I feel it's a C. That's kind of where I put it in there. The overwhelm is nice, but the problem becomes is like it has to be the 3 or less, right? So then it's just kind of like you're overwhelming for 1, so it's kind of like a small Sabine ping that you get to do when you just activate, but you're also giving up a little bit of ability on him, and he doesn't have a ton of health for it. He does come out of range of takedown, thank God.
Well, he's coming out in 5 too, so
Yeah.
he does come out pretty early.
Yeah. So I don't know. I say C. That's where I put him on a higher side of the C.
Yeah, I mean, like extra attack is always good. It's not like a static effect like Krennic, so that's not great, and it is limited to 3 and below. I'm just worried that you want to like Voltron lower costing things, right? Just start adding upgrades on there, making him as strong as possible, so you can get the overwhelm and stuff when he comes out. But traitorous exists, or like just instant kill cards, or like power, upgrade removal stuff, power failure, just all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, well, it's a nice buff. If it wasn't static, it would be a lot better. Maybe there's like some pretty solid decks with him. I haven't spent too much time like deck building yet because I didn't know all the cards and I've just been incredibly busy. So I'm not sure if there's something crazy there that I missed, but I would say probably like a C. I don't know what second color you would put with them. Is there anything that you have in mind?
So you can actually put you could do double green with him. I have played a double green Moff Gideon deck, and there is enough like lower cost green units, but I don't feel you have a good end game. That's my problem. Is like the end game, like you can ramp, and then now you're not using his ability anymore. And then at that point, why wouldn't you just play something else that benefits you more?
You just play Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly. So green. Otherwise, it's really more of a red. Like I only see it with red. I think with red, you can make it a mid range / aggro deck. Like with it, he's kind of a cross in between. And he could kind of fill both roles if you partner him with red. I don't see blue benefiting him much personally. I don't see him as a good control deck. That's just me. But
Yeah, I mean, like the extra reach is nice, so I feel like you would have to pair it up with things like Viper Bro Droid, right? So now it's a 4 attack, and that's actually can take out some of the 3 drops. Or like your basic stormtroopers, kind of stuff like that. Reach is fine. It's just I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't really figured out too much to do with Moff Gideon.
Yeah. And I would agree. So, all right, how about Bosk? Let's do Bosk next.
Ooh, Bosk. I love me some Bosk. Just as a character wise. So he is as an action, you can exhaust him. Deal 1 damage to a unit with a bounty, and then you may give it +1/+0 for this phase. And he comes out on 5, and he's off 4/6 on a 5, which is nice. And when you collect a bounty, you can collect that bounty again, but you can only use it once per round.
So I want to say he's A tier, but I have a hard time saying, hey, let's stick this guy in A tier because he's going to just be so overwhelming comparatively. Like I personally feel yes, bounties are great, but and maybe this is the Destiny player in me. Bounties bother me a little bit because they take up slots. Like if I'm using bounties, they have to genuinely pay off for me. And like when I use events, I get a good payoff like right away. It's like an instantaneous payoff. I feel the effect. Bounties take longer, have more precarious timing windows. He has some really, really strong bounties, especially if you pair him in green. There is 3 green bounties that really work very well with him, and then there's at least 2, if not 3, red bounties that work really well with him. He also pairs well into blue to some extent, if you want to go with a little bit more of a control healing factor, I don't like it, but I do understand, like, he is a mid-range control if you put him with blue. Um, and yellow just feels silly, but you could do it with yellow as well.
Really, yellow seemed more interesting to me because you have the bounty posting card where you just grab a bounty out of your deck and play it.
You do, but you don't get as good of bounties as you have in, like, green has the best bounties. Yellow's okay for bounties, I guess. I don't know, like, so to me, he fits into that higher beer he's in the beer category.
Hell yeah.
I guess. I feel he's in a higher B category for me. Personally.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how well bounties end up being. For me, he seems very much like an aggro, like a very aggressive, like hitting, like hard hitting kind of deck. Because a lot of like the red bounties are like do 2 to 3 damage to this base, draw some more cards, just hit harder. And then you also have like Punishing One and Dengar, which naturally fits really well for his ability. And his fellow Trandoshan hunters and Django and all that kind of stuff, and Chris Hansen. Like, there's a bunch of good bounties in red, so I can see that deck kind of working. Yeah, it's just I'm not. It really depends. Like, it's so situational on like what's the critical mass for the bounties you want to put in your deck, right? Because you want to have bounties for Bosk, but if you don't draw it, like, you can't just solely depend on bounties. It's kind of weird, his ability, because it's like you want to have a lot of bounties, but also they're basically dead cards because you don't have a board if you're just playing bounties, right? Like, it's harder to kill the guys if you just have a fistful of bounties. So I'd say maybe like a beer, like a beer tea. I wouldn't put like a higher B. I would actually put Bo-Katan ahead of Bosk, but it really depends on how bounties shake out.
Yeah. And I think the problem is you have to figure out what you're cutting for them, right? And that's my problem is I have either wanted to run larger decks, which then mess up some of the stuff that I want to do. So
yeah, I feel like for like a heavy bounty deck, you're gonna need like 60 cards almost. Like, you still want to have a particular ratio of units.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do Hunter next.
Oh boy. Ah, man. So, side note, I think Hunter is probably my favorite showcase card in the set.
Fair enough.
So Hunter, a lot of text. The action, 1 resource, exhaust them. Reveal a resource you control. If it shares a name with a friendly unique unit, return the resource to its owner's hand and put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. And he comes out on 7, and he's a 5/8 with Overwhelm. And on attack, it's kind of the same thing. You may reveal a resource you control if it shares the same name. If it shares a name with a friendly unique unit, return the resource to the owner's hand and put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So obviously you're very clone-based deck on this one. Where do you rate them?
So I think in every case but one, he falls into a C category, personally. And I would say lower than Gideon. I would actually play Gideon over Hunter. I will tell you, in my opinion, in like Draft or Sealed, he's trash. But in a in a regular deck, I think he's okay. I've had some success with him in double green, but again, it's just there's not a lot of clones.
Yeah, and things ironic.
So really, like, we know what next set's gonna be, and I bet you next set he gets a buff. So for now, I consider him mid-ish C tier, if not lower C tier. But I also have not spent a great deal of time playing him because I haven't found his ability. I find his leader flip is the only thing I care about. I actually don't care as much about his ability. His leader flip is pretty good though.
Yeah, he's a beefy boy.
Yeah, and he hits like a truck. I'll tell you what, holy crap. I did not realize either. There's things you can do with him once he flips that you need like a Fell the Dragon or a what is that, Rivals Fall
Rivals Fall.
card to just, those are the two cards you need. Those are the things that take care of him. So I don't know. That's I consider, for now, I would consider it C tier. There you go.
Yeah, there's probably something in there because, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like clone specific cards, right? Those just happen to
Yep.
synergize it. It's just any friendly, unique unit. So if you have like a whole bunch of smuggle, unique cards or something, it can perform better. But yeah, I would also probably take Gideon over Hunter.
All right. Let's move on. Let's do Finn. What does Finn do?
Oh boy. Okay, so Finn, as an action, you can exhaust him to defeat a friendly unit. Sorry, a friendly upgrade on a unit. If you do, give a shield token to that unit. And then he comes out on 5. He's a 4/6, which is, again, really good. And on attack, you may defeat a friendly upgrade on a unit. If you do, give a shield token to that unit. And what are your thoughts on Finn?
So my initial thoughts is Finn is trash. That's my actual initial thought, was he was trash. I played around with a couple of decks with him where you again, we like, I don't know. Here's the problem. When I look at him and I look at Ray, I'd rather have my 3 restore, but I won't lie and tell you that Finn has some synergy with some of those similar cards that Ray has synergy with, but for different reasons. Not because you can give it experience tokens, but for example, there's like a Mando one where it comes out and gives another token to another Mando unit, different things like that. He has playability, and I don't think he's completely awful, but I'm going to again say I would rather take Moff Gideon if I have to over Finn personally. And I don't, maybe it's because he's not my play style, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. But outside of certain upgrades, like I hate defeating an upgrade to just give it a shield, you know. I don't know, like if it's an experience token that keeps it alive longer, is that better than a shield? I I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I'm not sure if he's the worst leader in this set,
He's not.
but but I'm not terribly enthused. I mean, shields are great for sure, but like you don't want to like dump your own like stat bonus ones, right? Like you don't want to like put a lightsaber on one of your guys and then kill the lightsaber off for a shield. So it's like you have to work a lot with like experience tokens, which is fine, but it doesn't seem like it's particularly worth the investment. Although having shields is great. Like coming from a Luke player,
Yeah.
it's really nice to have all your shields. They can do a lot of work. I feel like he can snowball pretty well, but it takes a particular deck, and I'd still much rather have Ray.
Fair enough. All right, let's do Lando. Your boy Lando. I love that. I'll tell you what, I do like this showcase art for him too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty good.
So Lando, as an action, you can exhaust him. You play a card using Smuggle, and it costs 2 less, and then you defeat a resource you own and control. And he comes out on 4, and he's a 2/5, just like Sabine. As an action, which doesn't exhaust him, action, you can play a card using Smuggle. It costs 2 less. Defeat a resource you own and control. Use this ability only once per round.
All right. So my take is that he has some very unique properties. I give him lower B, and I know that's probably a controversial take because a lot of people I don't think are very high on Lando. We actually have a deck that is, we have a very aggressive aggro deck that we've been testing with Lando that doesn't have a lot of like 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 drops, that has no big bombs. If you don't win by a certain round, you're just done. Like there ain't nothing you're gonna do about it. But I can tell you, we have been able to put out 20-ish damage by being able to flood the board, bring things in. and stuff like that. So I am right now. I'm going to give him a low B tier.
Uh, I'd have to like look at all the cards with smuggle in this. It just seems like his ability. I mean, it's nice to play things for cheaper. You are sacking a resource to do so. He is a very, very much an aggro leader. It just seems difficult to play like a Han, right? And I'm not sure if the smuggle cards are good enough to use with him. But you have a lot more experience with that than me, so it's a little bit hard for me to.
All right, we'll
judge.
go C tier, better than Hunter.
I think he's better than Finn.
Yeah, but not better than, we'll say, Moff Gideon. We'll just put him at the same as a Moff for now.
I might even take him over Moff Gideon. Honestly, I don't know. It's pretty hard to tell.
Okay, we're gonna go mid. We're gonna go mid C, or a high C, low B. There you go. We're gonna make a decision and call it a day. Now we have a counterpart. We're gonna talk about Fennec next, because Fennec, I've found, is insanely fun to play. Like, holy crap, is Ambush so much fun to play with Fennec. So, Alex, what is Fennec's ability?
So Fennec, as an action, you can spend a resource and exhaust her. Play a unit that costs 4 or less from your hand, paying its cost, and give it ambush for this phase. And she comes out on a 5. She's a 4/4 with Saboteur. And as an action, not an exhaust one, as an action, play a unit that costs 4 or less from your hand, and give it ambush for this phase.
I put her solidly in a B tier. I think Bo is better than her. But her, again, I originally thought, hey, there's nothing to it. But the question becomes, is can she compete with Sabine? And I guess we haven't done a tier ranking with all of the leaders all together. So maybe that's something we'll do in August, where we could kind of put them all together once we get more data on these leaders. I think she's a solid B, with the fact that she has that ambush capability. She has the ability to put lower cost units out. This set has given us a lot of low cost units. And if you think about like Cloud Rider, why does everybody like Cloud Rider? Is because it's a 3/1 that has ambush for 2 costs. You can bring it in and kill something before it kills your unit, and then you still have a resource or 2 to play. So I don't know. I will tell you, K2SO is super awesome with this. Like, you don't need the heroic sacrifice per se. It is nice, but you can just run K2SO into something and blow up and do damage to the base. So, and when she's on her, I think her biggest downside is when she's on her unit side. If you do not protect her, you lose it. But if you let her alone, like if they can flood the board with Sentinel and they don't have hand removal or removal from hand, her ability is just stupid. It's just dumb as crap. Like, just being able to do it. But I will tell you, her leader side does not live very long. Nobody wants to let that thing live. So
yeah, she seems like a pretty solid B, maybe B plus. I feel like I would take her over Bosk because I feel like she fits my playstyle a little bit more than Bosk. But also I feel like I'd be building a different Fennec deck than most people. Because she seems very good for control for me and less so aggro. Because you play something out of hand, you kill their unit on the board. Like, just the tempo gain for that is really, really good.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with B. That's fine. All right, how about our boy Jabba? Where are we putting Jabba?
Oh man. Okay. So Jabba, as an action, you can exhaust him, choose a unit. For this phase, it gains bounty. The next unit you play this phase costs 1 less. And then when Jabba comes out on a 7, he's a 2/12. And when deployed, another friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit. And as an action, you can exhaust him to choose a unit. For this phase, it gains bounty. The next unit you play costs 2 less. So if you stack it right on the turn he comes out, you can make a unit cost 3 less.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you manage to do that, then you can just play his own Rancor for like 4 or something silly like that. So Just throwing it out there. What are your thoughts on Jabba?
Personal opinion, between the fact that he is a thick boy and there's not really a big upside to murdering him, I feel he's 100% A tier. And I also don't feel it's just solely his ability. I think his ability kind of brings in like gravy train, but the fact that he's green means he's got native ramp in his deck, right? Like it's just that's green's natural ramp. And then on top of that, there's actually so many cards that synergize with him. That's not even funny. For example, Bounty Hunter. Like, thought that was a stupid card until we got Jabba. Once we got Jabba, then I was like, oh, okay. This guy comes out on 2. All right. I'm good with that. Like, I will tell you that I've had a unit. I played like a probe droid. Then I action Jabba the next turn, put the 1 on. Then I put out that Bounty Hunter for the 2, right? And then you still got your resource to play a bounty, to play whatever else you want, McClunky maybe. This any sort of crazy thing. So I give him a solid A. Like I think he could be pushing S tier, but I'm gonna avoid saying S tier for now and just say I think he's a solid A.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can make a judgment for any leader to be an S tier yet. But yeah, I'm not sure if he's the best leader, but he's definitely my favorite here. I think he's high up there. I think A is pretty solid for him. And it might also just be because we play a lot of Palpatine, right? So we're very attracted to this ability.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's 100% why we rank him so high. Especially because he just, he captures units. But the giving a bounty just intrinsically in your leader is so good. And just all the other things that like interacts with bounties. He just enables it all, like you were saying with the reputable hunter, right? So now you drop a 3/4 for 2 resources, right? Just you can do it on the first turn. You can just give your opponent a bounty. Like you don't need to claim it. You can just give your opponent a bounty and drop the reputable hunter on turn 1. It's a 3/4.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a pain to do.
Yep. Haxion Brood comes in with a shield. Like
right.
Okay,
like you always have a bounty for anything that requires it, and that's very strong. And I think Capture is going to be really good, and he works really well with Capture, especially his body himself, right? Just being a 212. I mean, he can't do it on himself for his ability, but like you have to you have to go through a lot of Jabba in order to kill him off, unless you like rivals follow him or something.
Yeah, which I've had people do to me, just so you know. Like people get so sick of it. It's like, all right, well, I'll just go back to my other side of giving bounties then. Thank you.
Yeah.
And like I will say I have only played him in yellow so far, but I feel that I feel just like Palpatine has kind of that wide spectrum that you can kind of work with. I feel Jabba's going to be very similar-ish to that. Yellow was obviously just a native color because it had so many bounty hunters and like bounty things to it. But do not count Jabba out. This is so. And the other thing, I don't know. I love Jabba so much because I think it just annoys people, and that's why I like to play Palpatine, because it is like you hate when Palpatine steals your unit, you hate when you traitorous, and Palpatine can do it without even traitorsing if he wants it. Like Jabba feels the same way. Like, oh, I just gave your guy a bounty. What are you gonna do about it? Like I don't know. So good. I think Jabba's hands down one of my favorite leaders in the set.
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite, and I think he is pretty like up there. But we'll see. But I just I can see a lot of potential with that kind of ability.
All right, we're gonna pick Boba Fett Senior is what I'm calling him. Senior Boba. We have here. What does Boba do?
Okay, so we got a hero Boba now.
The way he was supposed to be at 6 resources, not 5.
He is he's just a static ability. When you play a unit that has 1 or more keywords, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give a friendly unit +1/+0 for this phase. It doesn't have to be the same one. And yeah, he comes out on 6 with his old stats of 4 and 7, and just a passive each other friendly unit that has one or more keywords gains +1/+0.
Yep.
What's your opinion on
You,
Boba?
you want my honest opinion? I think Boba is not funner to play than Jabba is, but I think he is almost a little bit better than Jabba. I genuinely think he is,
I
personally.
was going to say he is probably up there with Jabba, I think, in terms of power. He's one of the ones I'm more attracted to because there's so many good keywords and there's so many in green and rebels. Like
Yeah.
just an echo based defender, Sentinel's a keyword, right? Like you can play that and make it a 5/3, and that just is such a pain for 3 resources to try to get through.
Yeah. I think the only thing he suffers a little bit with is can he gatekeep aggro enough to win? And I think the answer is yes, but again, that's going to take some testing and some work around. But he is, again, when we talk about Jabba, we talked about a little bit about versatility. This Boba's like so much more versatile than other leaders are. Like he really is. I mean, we made an airplane deck with him. There you go. So I guess we won't call it an airplane deck, but we made a space unit deck with him.
Yeah, and like don't forget, like bounties are keywords. So if you play a unit that has a bounty on them, you can still trigger them,
Yeah.
which is really nice. Because sometimes you get really overstated uh, units that have like a bounty keyword on them, and they're just like, cool. Now I'm just gonna hit harder. And I still have to mention that Red 3 gives all your units raid 1, and that's a keyword. And when he comes out, now all your units get +2.
Yep. All right, let's do Kylo.
Okay, so Kylo is well, he comes out on 4, but anyways, his action, you can exhaust him, and you have to discard a card from your hand. If you do, you give a unit +2/+0 for this phase. And he comes out on 4, and he's a 5/4 that gets -1, -0 for each card in your hand. What is your opinion on Kylo?
I think Kylo is lower B tier. I actually like Fennec better than I like Kylo, and I feel that, like, for example, Kylo Silencer works very well in the Kylo deck, but not as well in other decks. And
Works fine in an Afra deck.
okay, it works fine in an Afra deck. We haven't gotten to Afra yet, but I I think Kylo has potential and has not been cracked yet, and I think that could bump him up in the stats. But if I'm gonna play aggro, I found that I like Fennec better than I like Kylo, but I like Kylo better than I like Lando. Um, I don't agree. I think a lot of people feel he's just really, really, really good, and I don't see the potential as much. But I also don't like to play with no cards in hand. But I will tell you, I mean, I will tell you, it's super easy, right? It's super easy to just play with no cards in your hand because you always know what you're gonna do. But what I found is that the decks I play him in run out of steam way too quickly, and if you can, like, there's another leader we'll talk about in a few minutes that is just, in my opinion, hands down better. Um, but like without having a lot of cards in hand, this I don't know. I can't get him to work very well. How about that? There you go. So I give him a lower B. That's where I feel he fits.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, play a lot of low cost units, go very, very face, he gets a lot better. He can pump out a lot. I just feel like if he hits any sentinel or control, things kind of go a little bit sideways.
Yeah. There you go.
So I would take Fennec over Kylo. And again, I think it's just really like you said, it has to be some sort of like code that people still have to crack because like it's still kind of I don't know. He feels like not. That's hard to explain. Like he's going to be difficult, and I'm not a good aggro player in this game, so I'm not really seeing a lot of the lines that like lead him to success.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just stick lower B for now. I think that's again. I think there's more to come with him. I just don't think there's a lot there right now. But that's just me.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we grab? Can we grab Mando? Is Mando going to cooperate with us now? Let's talk. Let's do Mando.
Okay. So we got the Mandalorian. His leader ability is when you play an upgrade, you may exhaust his leader. If you do, exhaust an enemy unit with 4 or less remaining HP. When he's out, he comes out on a 6. He's a 4/7, which is nice. And when you play an upgrade, you may exhaust an enemy unit with 6 or less remaining health. What's your thoughts on Mando?
Originally, I liked him better than I liked Bo-Katan, but I actually feel Bo is more favorable to play. I think I think Mando has a lot of ability. I think the biggest issue, for my opinion, that you run into is you don't have a lot of upgrades, or you don't play a lot of upgrades. What are you doing? So the biggest issue comes is, are they getting rid of upgrades? Right? You know, what are you getting rid of when you put upgrades in your deck? Are you going to get rid of events, or are you going to get rid of units? If you get rid of too many units, now you don't have units to play. So I feel there's something there. I like Bo better because I feel Bo has the ability that Bo has, does better offensive damage. But I also feel Mando can be a sleeper. I do agree though, like the exhausting things works really well, but it's the same as Thrawn, right? Like I like it in Thrawn, but you want to know what doesn't matter in Thrawn is, well, I exhaust one unit and you put 2 more down the next turn, and I'm only exhausting one of them, and by turn 4, you've got 5 units and I can exhaust one. So they're still there. So I think it is a control style deck. He probably works decently well, but I also haven't spent. After I started working on Bo, I stopped playing Mando. To be honest with you. So personally, I kind of say he's. I don't know. I want to say he's B tier. I do, but I still struggle with him being B tier. So,
do you think he should be lower or higher? Or
well, I personally would like to rank him higher because it's one of my favorite characters, but no, I don't think I don't feel he goes higher.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really high up on Mando, and I don't see it. Like, you need units to play your upgrades on. So, like, if I don't know, I feel like you can get a lot of bricky hands with Mando, and that's very concerning. I mean, the exhaust is nice, but it's not like a solution. You're not dealing damage to him. I don't know. I feel like his decks this is pretty hard to build because you need like some sort of a fair amount of upgrades that are fine. Like you have some upgrade like searching and support, but also like you still need units. So maybe there's some Mando synergy. I'm sure Mandalorian synergy in there. I'm not super high up on them either.
All right, I think we're gonna have to lower him. We're gonna put him.
I mean, I would take Fennec over Mando for sure.
Yeah, same here. I kind of feel he's maybe in the same category right now as Kylo, maybe a little bit lower than Kylo. That's what we're gonna do.
Weird that we're just agreeing at each other.
I know. Usually, you and I are not in the same agreement, so I don't know. Let's do. What's this one? Let's do whatever this one is. Come on, computer.
Quality content.
Well, hey, I mean, if we agree, I can't help that we agree.
I know. It's just rough not having like we play very similar play styles.
Fair enough. All right, why don't we do Ray next? Hopefully she'll start moving. Let's do some Ray.
Okay. So Ray, as an action, you spend a resource, exhaust her, give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power. She comes out on a 6. She's a 2/6 with Restore 3, which I can't believe they gave her Restore 3. It should probably be like a 2. And on attack, you may give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power. And that definitely includes herself for that first attack, which is probably what you're going to be doing.
Every time.
The first time, because it's 2 or less power, but still.
Well, you know what I mean. Every time you flip
Yeah.
her, you're doing.
Unless there's a weird edge case where you need to keep like a sentinel unit alive or something. Yeah, I like Ray a lot, honestly, and it's all because of the Restore 3.
Mhm.
Like, Luke turns games around with his Restore 3, like Luke unit, right? And she can do it for a leader body, and also buffing units with 2 or less power is nice. I think there's some like cool Mandalorian stuff that she can do, because a lot of them are just like, hey, if it's an upgrade, give it +1/+1, or like a gain Sentinel if it's upgraded, and I think you can do that pretty well with Ray. So I'd probably put her at like a higher B. I would take her over Bosk.
So I can't get her. So I'm gonna actually disagree with you a little bit. I guess there you go. We'll have a little bit of countering dissension here.
Manufactured. Let's go.
This is definitely not manufactured. I actually consider her A tier. I think her ability puts her maybe on the lower end of that A tier. But I don't think she's better than Boba. I think she's better than Bo-Katan. I think she's definitely better than Bosk.
Yeah.
I
don't think she's as good as Jabba.
I agree with you. I don't think she's as good as Jabba. Though I will tell you that she fills a similar-ish style role to Jabba. I have gone through and we have looked at lower cost, like lower units, and like there is actually enough like lower end units and enough ability to draw and search your deck and do different things that she becomes a pretty aggressive target. And I think she's better than Luke, personally. But that's just me. I find her so much better than Luke. I'm sad we don't have a Rey's lightsaber, but so I feel she's lower A tier. That's where I feel.
Fair enough. Lower A tier, upper B tier. Pretty close.
All right. Yeah, I don't think you're going to find us disagreeing on that piece of it. All right. Shall we do Afra next? Is that, I don't know if we dare.
I know there's one leader that we'll actually disagree on for sure. Sorry, who do you want to do next?
Let's do whatever this one is. Hondo, I think.
Can you set aside your personal biases for Hondo? That's the real question.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Hondo is when you play a card using Smuggle, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an experience token to a unit. And when he comes out on 6, he is a 3/7 with Raid 1. And when you play a card using Smuggle, you may give an experience token to a unit. Which, also includes him because he's a unit.
So do you want my biased opinion or do you want my honest opinion?
A little bit of both.
My honest opinion is he's D tier. My biased opinion puts him at C. So he's still not very good. I have gone through the Smuggle cards. And I just feel like Lando is a million times more effective for Smuggle abilities. Personally, I don't know. Maybe there's something there for Hondo. I've basically said, well, I could just take Jabba and have a lot better of a time. I just don't find enough Smuggle cards to make him.
Yeah, I think he's in that category of like with Hunter, where it's like, well, he'll get better in more sets. The more times they release Smuggle cards, better Smuggle cards, maybe specific green or black Smuggle cards. I'm not sure if he's quite D tier or D plus tier. I mean, I would still take Hunter over him, so he's probably like the last person in C tier. I feel like D tier just like not technically unplayable, but like you what are you doing, right? Like IG right now, or maybe like Hera, where it's just like, well, they're functionally not great. Hondo at least has like good stats, and there's enough smuggle to have his ability do something, but he just seems subpar, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like Gideon in a way, but like Gideon's ability is actually better.
Well, there's more 3 cost or less
Right.
units than there is smuggle stuff. So
Right. So it's like it's not a useless ability, but like nothing particularly incredible. So
oh, that's the one you thought we were going to disagree on. You were
no,
wrong because
it's not.
we disagree on that one. I don't know. I want Hondo to be good. That's one of my favorite characters. So let's do Gar Saxon, baby. Where do you rank Gar Saxon?
So Gar Saxon has just the static ability, like Krennic. Each friendly upgraded unit gets +1/+0. And he comes out on a 6. He's a 4/7. Each friendly upgraded unit gains +1/+0 and gains when defeated. You may return an upgrade that was attached to this unit to its owner's hand. What's your opinion on Gar Saxon?
B plus.
Ooh, I was gonna go like A- or so.
Yeah, same thing. I could agree to an A minus. I played some Gar Saxon, and so how about this? You want a deck that's pretty easy to play and navigate? Take Gar Saxon, baby. There you go. Like that's just the answer to like all the questions, and he doesn't care whether it's space or ground units either. By the way,
I think I would put him in A, honestly, because he works well with Imperial and Trooper units in addition to Mandalorian, so you actually have more versatility in there. That's the only reason I would give him the bump up there. But I like him, and a lot of him being really good is just like the fact that Brutal Traditions is a card
yeah,
that 2 cost blue black that like if an enemy was defeated, you could just play it from the discard pile and give them +1/+2, which turns into a +2/+2.
yeah.
If
It's
that card
stupid.
didn't exist, Gar Saxon would be worse. But that, yeah, I mean, you staple that in there, and he's a Mandalorian. He's got good Mandalorian synergies, and Mandalorian armor's a thing, right? And now they're +2/+3 with the shield. It gets pretty nasty.
I mean, okay, Alex, just being able something that comes out that gives experience or something that comes out with a shield, like
Mm-hmm.
boom, there you go. Like you automatically just upgraded. He's better than Krennic in the aspect of you don't have to worry about it being damaged. You literally just have to play something that has an upgrade ability built into it, which
Yep.
this new set does. So,
Well, I know, like just shielded units, like going into him or whatnot. Yeah, I think he's pretty good.
all right, let's do Baby Han. That was my nickname was in Baby Han. Yeah, Baby Yoda. It's a
Yes.
Baby Yoda set, so we'll call it the Baby Han.
Scum Han. I'm still going with Scum Han. He's red and not yellow in this one. So as an action, you can exhaust him, play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less, deal 2 damage to it. And he comes out on a 5. He's a 3/6 with the action, not exhaust, just action. Play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less, deal 2 damage to it. What's your opinion on Han?
He's up there with Boba and Jabba.
This is the one I feel like we were going to disagree on. I don't think he's at A tier. I'm not terribly enthused by this Han, honestly.
Oh, killing me.
I know. Well, it's okay. Playing units for cheaper, super good. I get that. Doing 2 damage to your own units is what hurts the most. Like, that's one of the reasons why, like, Grand Inquisitor's fine, but like, Grand Inquisitor decks are tricky because you're doing damage to your own units, so they don't live longer. And like, if your opponent is able to trade their lower cost units because you're playing higher cost units, like if they trade your lower cost units into your good units, like that's not an advantage anymore. I know like 1 damage would probably super wreck the game, so you can't do that, but like 2 is just hefty. until you get to like the late game.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends. Turn 1 play, you have initiative. There's that grit.
Heroic Renegade.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's a 2/3. It
The
comes in
2/3
at
with
it's
grit.
a 4/1. It's like a mini Greedo, basically. It's just that card is dumb. I can play Crate Dragon because I can ramp with on. I can re-ready my units with aggression. I don't know. I think I don't know. He's mm, I don't agree. I'm having
Yeah.
a hard time saying he's less than A tier. I'll
I
move him to a Gar Saxton. It's my compromise. That's my compromise.
No, a lot of people are really, really high on this Han. And, I get it. Again, just having like cheaper units is super good. I don't it's hard just to accept the damage.
I don't know. You know who likes him? If he can't kill a Palpatine deck, Palpatine just loves this guy. So just as an FYI, if everybody starts playing Han, just play Palp. It's just-
You could run Vader into him and just ping off the damage so they die more. Like, I don't know. It seems too much of a I'm destroying my own units for a marginal benefit for me. But we'll see. And a lot of people are super, super high on this Han, and I'm not saying he's bad. Like, I'm not putting him anything past like a B tier. I just don't think he's solid in A.
Let's do Afra next. Do you even have to read it? Like, does their ability do anything?
Yeah, at the start of her ability is huge. At the start of the Ryu group phase, discard a card from your deck. Right off the top.
Good for Palpatine's revenge.
It's good for some things. It'll get better in time. She comes out on a 5. She's a 2/5. Her abilities, while there are 5 or more different costs among cards in your discard pile, she gets +3/+0. And when deployed, choose 3 cards in your discard pile with different names. If you do, return one of them at random to your hand.
So you know what turn she doesn't like to come out at? Turn 5. Or turn 4. Because then you don't have enough discard cards in your thing unless they're killing your units.
When I was messing around with Afra, I did, but that's just because I'm weird in deck building. I think she does well with cards that are like search the X amount of top cards for your deck and do it so you can always like actually get the card you need. And I think Fennec unit is incredible with her. And that's about it.
Are we allowed to put this one in D tier?
You hate her more than I hate her. I don't think she's like D tier. She's one of the ones I'm more excited to play. I don't think she's like mid C. I don't think she's D. That's all.
Oh, that's
like
one.
I would take Afra over like Lando, but I'm super weird. I would take her over Hondo for sure. But a lot of people think she's probably just the worst one in this set, and it kind of looks like you do too.
I do. I have not been able to find any synergy. Like, at least with Hunter, I have like at least 2 decks I could play with Hunter and feel good about. I can feel very bad about her. I'd rather play Hondo. So I think she's got a cool mechanic, but you like weird build things, and that's just not me.
Yeah.
All right. How about Kira?
So Kira, she is as an action, you can spend a resource, exhaust her, deal 2 damage to a friendly unit, then give a shield token to it. She comes out on a 5. She's a 0/8 with grit. And when deployed, you heal all damage from each unit, then deal damage to each unit equal to half its remaining HP rounded down, which of course includes her, so she's just a 4/4. Are you still having a lot of fun with Kira?
Yep, absolutely. Kira's my favorite in the deck. Like, in terms of winning, I still like Jabba better personally, but I think Kira hands down. So I don't know. I think Kira is the best one that we've gotten. And if she's not the best, she is in line with Boba and Jabba. Period. but I would consider her the top of the A tier. I would consider her the best unit personally.
This was the other one. Like, I knew we were going to disagree on Han, Kira, Cad, and Afra. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't like messed around with Kira, right? I mean, theoretically, you just throw in a bunch of grid units, right, and you do damage to them. You give them shields, they hit harder. She can do a lot of stuff. She can kind of mess with things. She can heal things. I'm not sure about A tier. I think she has the potential to be broken more so than most other leaders, but I wouldn't even put her in A tier.
Sad day.
So maybe B. I would take Bo-Katan over Kira.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nope. She's better than Han. She's better than Rey. I'll say Rey does give her a run for her money with that stupid heal crap, though.
What about her makes her so strong? What am I missing?
Well, so like on some of it is there's a couple of different things. So you have First Light, that's an amazing card. You have the Walker. Without First Light, she's not as good. How about that? But she has the ability to control when your leader comes out almost instantaneously, because most leaders don't come out with shields outside of Iden. So Iden is a problem for Kira. But she has the access to all the control cards. She has access to heal cards, and she can act like a boosted Krennic. And what she does is she shields your units when they come out all the time, and has the ability to give them grit when First Light comes out. And First Light is, in my opinion, First Light is what makes a lot of that. But the fact that she can come out, and then there is synergy with Maul and other underworld units in there, and when she comes out, she resets the damage. So if she comes out and then you can overwhelming barrage, you can literally wipe a board on that turn instead of the turn that you like instantaneously. And she's now a 6/8. She's doing all that extra damage, and then you can just ping the rest of the damage off for people. She also has the ability to deal with leaders, and that's why I like her more. I don't care as much. I'll be honest, I don't care as much about her on the leader side. I care about her for her flip, to control, and to extinguish whatever leader they have. It's just gone. So like if Boba comes out, here comes Kira. Boba's now got 4 health left. Kira swings, kills Boba. And I'll make that trade every day of the week on both sides of the Boba table. So I feel the versatility she has inside of that greenish deck, it just puts her a million tiers above somebody like a Krennic or even a Gar Saxon. Now, I will tell you she's a harder deck to navigate, in my opinion. But there you go. Like, Alex, you like to play with spice. To me, this deck has the potential for spice all over the board.
Oh, she was boring to me. I don't know. I guess. I'm just not I don't see. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff there. She just doesn't seem like particularly incredible. I usually don't care if you kill my leader. Like, whatever. Usually people kill the leader within the first turn or two anyways, so. And I think they're going to do it a lot more now with things like Felt the Dragon and Rivals Fall and just all that kind of out-of-hand damage anyways, so.
Yeah, only if they play blue. But I guess she's blue, so whatever. But she could do it without having to play those cards. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't care about my leaders as much as most people do.
All right, well, I'll move her down in line with Boba, but that's as far as it goes. I can't.
It's funny if you do something like Force Lightning or Imprisoned or something, so she just doesn't have grit, and you just freely swing into her for 0 damage.
That's fair.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ways to just counter her, and also 4 health is rough.
All right, the next one we have, or the last one we have, is Cad Bane.
Yep. So Cad Bane, as a leader ability, when you play an Underworld card, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, your opponent chooses a unit they control, deal 1 damage to it. And when he comes out on 6, he's a 2/8, which is a lot of health. With Raid 2, when you play an Underworld card, You may choose an opponent. They choose a unit they control, deal 2 damage to it, and you can only use that ability once per round.
So originally, when CAD first came out, I thought CAD was off the charts amazing, just super good. After playtesting him a lot, I put him in B, and I kind of put him alongside a Bosk, maybe even a little bit below Bosk. I do think that there is stuff there with him, but he is a very like, this is one type of deck you're going to play, and that's it. And it's a one style deck. I don't disagree with CAD. I will definitely run CAD, probably quite a bit because I like the underworld mechanic piece of it. But I don't know. I don't think he's as good as what I originally thought he was.
So it turned from disagreement to agreement.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you play with a character enough. You kind of go, yeah, all right, well, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
You realize Xanadu Blood is actually very difficult to do because like you're really impacting your own everything.
Your board state and like it's like, oh, this is not as good as I thought it was. Actually, I don't like that card as much. I now actually just take Fire Spray if I want something because it's Underworld as well. And I don't know. I don't think Xanadu Blood is bad. Don't get me wrong. I think there is synergy there, but it is not a get out of jail free card, and it's not a card that you play to say, oh, I'm going to win the game with this card. No. No, you're not.
Xanadu Blood is fine because it's essentially a 6/6 for 6.
Yes.
And like you don't have to use the ability, but you can like it's versatile enough that I'm fine with Xanadu Blood. I'm just mostly it's tough to keep bouncing back my own units.
Yep. And that's what I ran into.
A lot of the problem with Cad Bane. Like he's fine. I mean, it sucks that your opponent has to choose. I mean, it makes sense, right? But like, you know, giving your opponent agency is not great.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if they have not even like a shielded unit, maybe like just a higher health unit or like a grit unit or something, they're like, cool, free damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we learned that the hard way against Kira. Like, I have the High Blood Enforcer that now has a grid on it. Thank you. Like,
And unlike, see, like the different, like it is not kind of comparable to Bo-Katan, right? Because they're both dealing out damage or Vader, but your opponent choosing the damage is the problem. Like Bo-Katan can just finish off units that that maybe they traded into yours or something. Cad Bane can't really do that unless like that's their only unit they control.
Yeah,
which is fine, like kind of early game, but once you hit mid or late game, or if you're playing against a deck that goes wide, Cad Bane suffers a lot.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing. Once he hits that table, people just try to take him out. Like people don't care about Pelp, it seems, which is funny because he's a 4/10. But like Cad Bane is a 2/8.
I constantly get complaints that Palpatine's a 4/10. They hate it when I bring up Palpatine.
No, I know because they don't go into him. Yep, they don't go into him as often. And that's the thing with this one. It's like, people care less because it's only doing 2 damage back to you.
Right. The raid is another thing that really balances them out like that.
I mean, he's definitely more fair.
Yeah, I think he's fine. Like a B. I take him over Kylo because I don't think Kylo's my play style, but I can see why he'd be roughly around there.
Yeah, I take him over Kylo every day of the week personally. But
there's a lot of good Underworld cards that have a lot of good like when they hit the field kind of things. Like you want to bounce back one that's like a Sentinel if it's low health. But there's also ones that like it comes in shielded, or when you drop it does X amount of damage, or this guy has a bounty on him and I'm gonna bounce him back or something. I mean, it's more so the Xanadu Blood than Cad himself, but they're so, I think, entwined.
Yeah, I do like Cad. I don't think Cad's bad, and I will tell you in draft, I think Cad is a lot better in draft than.
Better hope you hit all those Underworld cards.
So anyway. That's I can't give spoilers for later today, but I think this is a good tier ranking. We'll call it our way too early take on leaders, especially since Alex has played none of them except for none of them. So, hence why he doesn't know why Kira is the best one. Period. But
counters.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so let's move on because I feel that we don't have much more to talk about in the realm of set 2 leaders. We will come back, and maybe that'll be something we could do early August around Gen Con time, or maybe even the week before Gen Con. Maybe we could rank all of the leaders kind of quickly with throughout both sets. Maybe that's a viable thing. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how much fun that would be. So
I also want to hear JJ's wild opinions of these leaders.
well, I don't think he did our other set ones either. So maybe we'll get maybe we could get JJ. There you go, Alex. Maybe we'll get JJ to do like his own video, and we'll publish it out. JJ's way too early, crazy thought beliefs on what he wants to play. So
S tier after all day, baby.
he probably. Oh, JJ. All right. Well, we have one more segment that I want to cover tonight. I want to talk a little bit about drafting and sealed strategies. Originally, I wanted to rank all the cards, but after talking with Alex and stuff like that, that's just crazy. Like, we're not going to rank cards now. Like that's a lot of extra work, I think, for its value. But Alex was kind enough to put our thoughts together and to kind of put the category of each of the cards where we feel they fit into each of the categories. I won't lie and tell you we're going to go through every single category because we're not going to go through every category detail. We are going to highlight some of the good stuff. We're going to make our document public so that you have the ability to get to the document. And we're going to focus a little bit on, different strategy setups for drafting and for sealed tournaments. With that being said, welcome to our Academy training segment. All right, folks, welcome back to our Academy training segment. Tonight, we're going to be talking about draft and sealed strategy, understanding how to play draft and sealed. We're going to go through all the rules, but we are going to go through kind of some strategy tips, theories, things that we feel are good, mentions, that things that you can actually take home and use with you. The reason we're doing this so close to set 2 is because we wanted to focus things a little bit more directly. Because we got into the SWU game a little bit late, right? And then B, because we wanted to focus specifically on Shadows of the Galaxy. And I haven't decided we might do this for every set. I don't know yet. I guess we will kind of see like some of the new synergy things that kind of come out for each of the different sets. If we start seeing a lot of new strategy lines that are going to present themselves, then I think we're going to have to redo the video every set. But for now, we're doing our very first draft and sealed strategy video. So if you don't know what draft and strategy or draft and sealed are, so essentially you have the two different formats, and then you have a third format that's kind of an offshoot, but they both all focus essentially on taking a limited pool of cards and not letting you pre-build any of your stuff. So with draft, you essentially get 3 packs. You take your 3 packs, you keep one of the leaders, pass the other leaders around until you get back to your 3 leaders. And then you do the same with each of your packs. You take 1 card, pass your pack around, and everybody gets 1 card out of the pack until it's gone. And you do that 3 times. Then you build your deck with it, well, however you want to, which with whatever leader you want. Sealed is a little bit different, but similar. You don't pass your packs, but you get 6 packs, and you get to you build your own deck with that very limited pool of 6 packs of cards. I tried to play sealed with 3 packs. It does not work. So you all know, I tried very hard. It doesn't work. It's not fun. Don't do it. Well, we're trying to find like an alternative format, right? Like for having limited like packs that we can play with locally, but no, it does not work. I tried it at home. I couldn't get a deck to work, and don't do it. Pre-release is kind of that offshoot. That's like your third variant. That's basically the same thing. The only difference between that and sealed is you get 2 promo leaders for whatever the set is. That is literally the only difference. So it kind of gives you a little bit more options, makes it a little bit easier, more friendly, because you know ahead of time what the 2 leaders are. So for Shadows of the Galaxy, we get Moff Gideon and Mando, which we both talked about. If you watch our earlier segment that we did where we ranked the leaders, we talked a little bit about that. So my first kind of point is you need to understand what your leader's ability are and what their stat lines are. And so, for example, we talked originally about Afra. Afra is a 2/5, right? She has a very limited stat line, and she has a very limited leader ability as well. So she is a little bit harder to play in these formats. Alex might consider it differently. I did try Thrawn in a draft format. It did not work very well. It was fun. I played a Thrawn control without vigilance or much else. It was fun. I didn't win any games at all, but I did anger my opponents because because their decks aren't built to do a lot. I could just remove a lot of their units. And it was like, that's what we played is here goes Tanner removing units. I'm not doing any damage to your base. But
honestly, if I was playing a Thrawn deck, I'd probably just try to build my opponent on and win on that. Just shove like 40 cards in that deck and just be like, we're extending this game out and we're going to be so unfun and go to time every round.
Which is fair. So anyway, long story short is understand what your leader ability does and kind of what your stat lines are. The second point, Alex is very familiar with because when I proposed the segment 2 weeks ago, Alex kind of like half agreed. And then when I told him about it this week, he said, "Oh, you mean I got to go read all the new damn cards, Chris?" And I said, "Yes, you do. You need to understand what the cards are so that we know and can educate ourselves before we actually have to do a podcast about it." But it's the same theory. You don't want to go into a draft or sealed and not know what things do. I will say in pre-release, I was a lot nicer, and they are decent in these formats because you can sub cards out not halfway through your game, but the next round. So if you're not playing for anything but playing for fun, then that makes it a little bit easier. The other one is understanding, reviewing the synergy of the cards and themselves and the leaders. Again, Cad Bane's a great example. With Cad Bane, he likes Underworld cards. So if you get a bunch of Underworld cards and you get a Cad Bane leader, do you make a Cad Bane deck? Alex would say, only Chris if you really want to. And then he would pick Aphra.
It really depends on the number of Underworld cards. But also not pick an Aphra draft or sealed.
You could just put 50 cards in your deck there, Alex, and then just mill your own self.
Yeah, look at all the colors in my deck.
No. The next one is common cards are king and decks need them to win. And I say that not because they really are king, but in these limited formats, you kind of have to work towards what are your commons, because your commons are going to have the different abilities on them. They're going to have the desire to say, hey, look at me. I have, this feature that's a 2/3, or I'm a 3 cost that has a shield on me. And you want to look at those because common cards can help make a good basis for your deck. The next one is follow the deck building ratios of events, upgrades, and units. So I'm going to ask Alex a question because I think it's important. Do you feel that there's different ratios inside of sealed and draft than you would building a normal 50 card deck?
Man, I'm like the wrong person to ask this because I don't follow any ratios for anything I do. It just kind of goes off what feels right. I will say you want at least like 4 or 5 space units. Because space units are actually really good in draft and sealed because there's generally not a lot of them and people don't draft them for sure. But like it's hard to like hit units in space if you don't have any like direct hand removal or anything like that, and your decks are significantly less consistent because you're not running 3 ofs generally in your sealed or draft. So space units are actually something you need to consider. But also, like, you generally want at least half your deck, probably more than half your deck, to be like units. Although that might change with this set, depending on the upgrades.
Yeah, because now you have bounties, right? Now we have bounties that come into play here. And depending on what bounties you get. So, for example, if you get the Lover's Quarrel, I know it's not called that, but if you get the Bounty Hunter's Quarry bounty, and you're running green, that's a great card because it just lets you tutor for 1 cost. You got to kill a unit, which you're going to do anyway, and you get to tutor a card, like out into the table. Like it's stupid value in draft. But I don't think that's a common card. I think that one's an uncommon. Actually, I've opened 3 pre-release kits and not had one of those, so it might even be a rare. The next one is Smuggle fills in the gap for filling out your deck. So essentially, Smuggle is if you have a lot of Smuggle stuff, they told us specifically Smuggle is designed to help you not figure out what you want to resource. In draft, this is super, super important. I will tell you, scanning officer is a thing though. I like my scanning officer, but in draft and sealed, if you only got one of them and you're not going to run green, it's not worth it. But smuggle cards are so much more prevalent in this set that it will make it easier for you to do. And I'll give an example. L337 is great as a smuggle, especially because later in the game she can come out and uncapture a unit. So she's really good as a smuggled unit in this format.
Honestly, L3 is like one of my favorite cards for draft or sealed. Period.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because there's maybe a deck that has L337 as an offsuit color that I might be playing. So that kind of leads us into the next thing. Offsuit cards need to be above the card curve to be included. So, for example, if you get the double red Rancor and you're not playing red at all, don't put the stupid double Rancor. You don't need a 10 cost Rancor. Same with Jabba's Rancor. If you're not playing Jabba and you're not playing green villain, you probably don't want to pay 10 for a Rancor. You probably are. If you get to 10 resources, kudos to you. Usually my games in draft and sealed end a lot quicker than that because there isn't as much trading of there isn't as many events and different things, and you either trade units or do damage to base. That's it. So, and then the last one is a reminder: you can include 3 or more cards in your deck of any one type. If you draft
literally whatever you drafted or opened, you can put in there.
Yep. So if you get 7 McClunkies, you can put 7 McClunkies in your deck if that's what you would like to do.
I know one of my buddies ended up with 4 snowtrooper lieutenants, I think.
Yep.
And I definitely had 4 cell block guards in my deck before.
Yep. I had 3 of the super laser techs. My first draft that I ever actually did with Vader. I ran Vader, baby. I had 2 TIE fighters, 3 of those things. It was just so much easier to just pick that. All right. Now, if we talk a little bit about draft, and I think I want to talk about draft. I find draft to be a little bit better of a play style than sealed. I do like sealed. I enjoy draft better because draft is you either win or you lose. There is zero in between. You either know what you're doing and you build a good deck, or you play Thrawn. There you go. That's what I gotta say. So overall, I like draft better personally. Sealed is more consistent though, and people do like sealed. But we're going to talk about draft because I think draft is it will be a strategy. The theory is that AM or FFG is going to be releasing larger wave sets more often, supposedly. So even if your store only got, let's say, 60 or 70 boxes, hopefully they're going to be getting more boxes in the next month to 2 months, and you'll be able to start playing some of these draft things. I will tell you, if I find boxes in the wild, I am 100% buying them and saving them for draft experiences. And Alex didn't do this. We all went to Adepticon together, and he had brought a box with him, and then we never did the draft. And we should have, because that would have been really fun. More fun than even playing some of the games that we were playing out there.
I still have that box.
So we can still draft it? Oh, there we go then. Sounds like we need to draft, baby.
Sealed. Sealed is my favorite format of this game.
Oh, we will talk about
I
sealed.
like more than constructed.
You like it more than constructed? Well,
yeah.
Fair enough. We will be talking about sealed in just a minute. So let's stick with the draft and say, hey, what are some of the strategies that you got to look out for, right? So obviously with draft, you're passing cards back and forth. You got to watch, what do people's leaders? That's the one rule that I believe you have to put both your leaders or all 3 of your leaders in front of you. And I have found if you pay attention, people will kind of move the one leader that they're more focusing towards sometimes, and they'll touch it more. So if you're very big individuals, you could kind of pay attention to what people are doing. But a lot of what you have to do is, what do people have? Are people all does everybody have 2 villains on the board? You probably should start drafting some rebels then, or some hero stuff, because you're probably going to get a lot of it. Another tip that I would say is draft for a few colors to ensure that you don't get boxed out of a suit, because that happened to me. Um, I drafted and then just had like the whole first round was just terrible. I couldn't get consistency across the board. And then by the second one, everybody had been kind of locked into their color, and there was enough variability that I couldn't get the one or two things I needed, and I ended up with a very mediocre um Leia deck. It was fun, but it was just a very mediocre because I couldn't get any synergies to help itself out. Another tip is to understand what others are drafting and take bombs if given the opportunity. So, we didn't do this for set one. We will talk about some of the really good cards here in a few minutes for set two. Be prepared to understand like what is a really good card, and if you see your opponents are taking certain types of cards, don't give them the bomb. Sometimes it's okay to draft one card that's a bomb card that you know that your opponent next to you wants. And maybe that's just me being too competitive. Maybe that's just like Tanner saying I want to be more competitive at this than other people do. But I have drafted like cards that I won't play that I know are just really good in other decks. So for example, when I learned Jin loves to play what are those rogue operatives or whatever that come in,
Mm-hmm.
when I learned that that's what people play, if somebody sitting next to me or around the table has a Jin and I see those, I take them. Unless there's some card I really need, I take that so they can't have that stupid thing. Because that thing is Jin is a monster in draft. Holy crap. Will I get lucky? Do you think I'll get lucky? Will Hondo be a monster in draft?
You need smuggle cards.
All right. Let's keep moving. I will tell you, traditionally, legendaries will slow you down. Don't take them unless you need them for your deck. I only say that tongue in cheek because people are going to take the cards that are worth money. So that's whatever. I will tell you, the best draft I ever had was when I passed all the legendaries up and built a Sabine deck and won, hands down, just the whole tournament because I built a Sabine deck and I didn't care about the legendaries. But the last point I have, if you're not receiving many cards for your leader, you need to rethink your strategy. But I think that's kind of common sense. But you need to be paying attention to that. And you can look at the cards in front of you. You could pick them up. You could go, okay, hey, what are these ones? You could say, hey, these are the what I set aside. I have sometimes put mine into two piles, like hero and villain. Sometimes I put different colors in piles, and people don't know what colors they are, so it doesn't really matter. But that way, I've done things that help me remember so that I don't accidentally draft a bunch of stuff I don't need. So let's move on to sealed strategies. Alex, what are some sealed specific strategies?
Man. You want me to read the template you got up there, or just my opinion here?
I don't care, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, so sealed is, you get 6 packs. If you're doing pre-release, you do get the 2 leaders that are like from the starter pack. First that was Vader and Luke. This one's Moff Gideon and Mandalorian. And basically you make a 30 card deck, right? So much like draft, you can like kind of sculpt what you're getting, but you have all the information at once. So like draft might be like specific hyper focus on certain stats. Sealed is basically entirely what you can build. So yeah, just make sure. I mean, a lot of what I do is like set out a grid. Here's all my hero units separated by color. Here's all my neutral units separated by color. Here's all my villain units separated by color. Just like look whichever ones you have really large pools of, because that's like your most versatile. See if you have a bunch of cards that you want to play. See if they match up with a particular leader. You're going to end up getting 6 leaders, and technically any base. It doesn't matter the bases you have. You're supposed to have access to every single color base, so that shouldn't matter. So it's really which 2 colors you think are best. I think honestly the hero and villain choice has much more impact than your color choices, because if you don't get any like good villain cards and you want to play a villain leader, then you're not doing too well. There's a lot of really good specific cards for heroes and villains. So that's just generally how I do it. Just I like the the grid based aspect of it. Just kind of choose which ones you want. Um, and you can like switch it off as well. Uh, for sealed events or like especially like pre-release events, you can swap out cards between rounds. If you're just like, well, this deck isn't working too well, I'm gonna swap out a couple cards here and there. Or if you're wild, you just swap your entire deck out, which some people have done at sealed events. So,
Yeah, you can you swap your leader and your base?
I mean, it's technically like a casual event, right? So it's just literally swap anything else you want. Like, there's no deck lists.
Fair enough. So I guess if you wanted to, you could run a Thrawn deck, to begin with, and then say, nah, I'm gonna switch to my Krennic deck.
Yep.
Which is what I probably should have done last time, right? Another thing is like Alex said, like taking the time to sort is so important, though. Like that's just like a huge thing is understanding how do you want to sort, what grid do you want to build. Like Alex and I probably build a very similar grid, but we probably have a little bit differences. Like I always separate um by quantity first, right? The number on the card first. That's what I do, and then I sort by villain and hero and neutral, and then I count my neutrals, I count my villains, I count my heroes, and then I make decisions based on card pool count size. And then after that, then I look at what is their theme. Like for example, did I get a lot of underworld stuff? Is 80% of my deck underworld? Well, I'm probably gonna if I got Cad Bane, I'm probably running Cad Bane. Is 80 like did you get Zuckuss and Forlon both? Well, maybe you're running, maybe you'll run a job of the deck if you got both of those in your sealed packs. I don't know, but that's one of the bigger things when it comes to drafting and sealed. What I want to do now, I think, is why don't we move on to Alex's kind of we're gonna call them good, bad, and indifferent ratings. So Alex has very kindly given us some information. We gave some examples in there of why we didn't do it for every single card because that's a lot of work.
I
But
could have, but I did it for like the leaders specifically, and then like if a legendary is worth like building a deck into.
yes, exactly. And so that's kind of you don't want to you want to understand that like if we could do that for everything. I just don't know how much value it brings people. Like how much are people going to pull a guide out when they sit down? The better thing is watch our video, give us a like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and then go have fun. That's what I would say. Like go actually have fun playing the event and don't worry about what Tanner and Alex say. We're here to help you have a good time so that you don't build a deck where you just don't do anything. Like my nephew, for example, who built a deck with, I don't know, no 2 drops and 3 drops. So he had nothing to play at all for 2 rounds. So yeah.
Don't want it, don't need it.
Yep. Oh, round 4, I could play an aggression, but hey, baby, I can't do anything else. So I don't know. So let's start with the leaders.
Yeah, so I just put them into like, hey, these are good. Hey, these are like, I wouldn't say terribly good. And then other ones are like, these are fine. But if you have what they need, like, like Mando, right? If you have a lot of upgrades, then he becomes good. But if you don't, like, they're okay at best, right? So, like, what I think would be pretty good, for sealed or well, this is more so for like drafting. I mean, it's applicable to both,
There you go.
but like I built these with like more drafting in mind. So like I think like Garsthaxon, Ray, Jabba, Boba, Han, and Fennec are like really good ones. Um, in this sheet, you'll see some with asterisks. That's actually those are just rare leaders. That's what that means. If you check out our sheet. But I think like Gar Saxon, because he's got that passive buff and he's able to recur cards in your deck, that's really, really strong. That Restore 3 on Ray will just win games on its own. I think the Jabba with like the capture and being able to play cheaper units is good. Like Han being able to play cheaper units is good. I think like Boba just passive. There's enough keywords that like it actually comes into play, and I think Fennec is just hard to deal with in like a sealed or draft because you don't know what she has in her hand. Because any card in her hand could just come out and kill your units. And I think she's good at controlling the board, and there's not a lot of counterplay in sealed and draft.
Yeah.
What I think bad units are, well, bad leaders. By bad, I mean like probably not what you want. Like I don't think Finn is that good just because it's a very finicky kind of thing, pun intended. Hunter, same thing. I actually put Bosk in here. He might be more leaning towards okay than bad. It's just like he's so dependent on bounties. So if you don't draft or you don't get a lot of bounties and they're not all in the same color, like Bosk isn't really doing much. And then like Afra, just because like you're already running a 30 card deck and you're self milling, and there's not a lot of discard cards, and it's like cool. Kylo's silencer is a legendary card there, right? So it's not very. That's not going to help much.
Well, it's funny too if you think about it. It's almost like we need a card for Afra that says this cannot be removed from the board, and whenever you take damage to your base, they take damage to their base from milling cards. Like that's like a card I could see it coming into Afra's pool. But when you only have 30 cards, I don't want to throw any cards ever away. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
So then I have like ones under like, well, these need very specific cards like Kiro with Grit, Hondo with Smuggle, but I think like he's decent set enough to be okay. He leans more towards bad than he'd be okay. But like Bo-Katan with the Mandos, Cad Bane with the Underworlds, Lando with the Smuggle mechanics again. I think they're all okay, but if you have those cards, they're great. Kylo Ren as a leader, like if you have a low curve on your deck, he can be pretty strong. If you don't, I wouldn't take him because you're just kneecapping yourself. And the same thing with like Mandalorian, right? You need very specific cards, and Moff Gideon, he's okay. Like there's nothing particularly special about him.
Yeah, I think Moth. I feel Moth fills. I think Moth can go into the good category. Like that's one I would say. You're right. It has nothing specifically special. Just needs lower units or lower cost units, which we get a lot of those. I think Moth is a better choice over Mando in that yellow category. If
I agree.
If you're just looking for ease ability to play.
And like if you look at our list here, it's actually not by like the top ones are better. It's literally just by like card number. So don't
Yes.
think those are rankings.
Yep, we are definitely not rank. We are not getting that granular.
Yeah.
Let's move on to legendaries.
You know, I don't have on here is Kylo's shuttle, but I put it in good or the silencer. So like,
yeah.
So legendaries, you're not going to get a lot, right? In 6 packs, you might get one. Occasionally, you'll get 2. Most of the time, like you'll get most of the time you'll just get none. So what I kind of made here was legendaries. These things you can like. This influences what color deck you're going to be playing because like they're that good. Like I think Snoke is incredible. And he's very good in like a draft or sealed because man, he just when you drop him, the passive -2/-2. He just finishes games, right? So I think he's good. Finalizer, I don't think it's particularly great because you're getting up to 11 resources in a sealed game, and that means you like also kept Finalizer in your hand the whole time, unless you drew it super late. It hits really hard. You know, being 11, like your opponent's probably not going to kill it, but I think it just comes a little bit too late in the game. So for good cards, I would say, I guess Kylo Silencer is just a solid ship in general. But Snoke, I think Ray unit, Mandalorian unit, the Dark Saber doesn't necessarily have to go on a Mandalorian. You know, it's just the stats on that's great. Kylo unit, Poe unit, the Crate Dragon. What I don't think is particularly good is Finalizer. endless legions, obviously. uh, I think like Drayden Voss and like Final Showdown really is a little bit too risky. Drayden Voss and DJ are a little bit too niche, so I don't like them. I put them in the bad. And then like okay, it's like cool. Second chance is fine. You know, if you have like a good expensive unit, and like if you have some really strong units, it's fine. But if you don't, you don't generally play a lot of double aspect cards in sealed and draft as well, so that kind of hinders things. And like rule with respect and evacuate are pretty niche, but you can actually like kind of use them.
You
I
don't build
wouldn't
a deck around them, right? It's just
right.
if you're building a yellow deck or a green deck, you would play them.
Yeah. The other ones, like I would choose a red deck if I have Great Dragon.
Mhm.
So
Or
Dark Saber
Poe.
is a little bit different because it depends on how many Mandalorians you're drafting, but like I think it's just a solid card.
Yeah, for 4 costs, it's a great upgrade, and I mean, so the question is, if you have Gar Saxon and the Dark Saber, do you just say I'm going to run a Gar Saxon deck then because
Yeah,
the Dark
I,
Saber on him just like makes it?
I would say if you have like a Dark Saber, definitely consider running Gar Saxon or like Mandalorian or Bo-Katan because you can always just put it on them, even if you don't have any other Mandalorians. You should draft or put in some more Mandalorians because there's a lot of them. But if you don't have them, like it's still running.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to some rares.
Yeah.
A lot more cards here.
Well, yeah, it's going to get more and more. But basically, legendaries you don't plan on getting. Rares you're going to get one in every pack. Whether they're particularly good or not is questionable. But I like First Light, just give everyone grit, right? I think Chewbacca unit is awesome. Just a takedown with a body that's super troublesome to your opponent to deal with. I liked Imprison because you can shut off some really strong abilities with that. Um, I think Mandalorian armor might be the best rare.
Mhm.
um, if you have Mandalorian cards, because man, that just +1/+3 with the shield is disgusting for 2. Evidence of the Crime, I think, is good. Just passively taking upgrades. I think Maul, Palpatine's Return, General Recan, just being able to get shields or Sentinels, sorry, to like turn things into Sentinels or give them experience. Inspiring Mentor, Cobb Vanth, Legal Authority, Choose Sides, all these control cards and buffing cards. Django, Wrecker, Heroic Resolve, Bazine, Kira, Zoribrus, Kragan, and Tech. Great for the audio listeners, I'm sure, but like just download the sheet. Basically, anything that I think is good is single aspect, because double aspect again is pretty hard to do. Has some sort of immediate impact on the board, and because they're rare, you're not looking for consistency. You're looking to like make a play, um, or like have like Palpatine's Return, where you just recur things. You have any thoughts? Do you think there's anything questionable there,
In the okay category,
or the good category?
I think in the good category, the only one I'm a little concerned with is Cobb Vanth. I think he's okay. I guess he's okay. I see him more as an okay thing.
Really?
Um, yeah, and I only say that I understand the logic behind it, and I guess if you are playing a lot of lower cost units, it does work out. But I found that I feel in drafted sealed he's more circumstantial personally than some of the other ones. I would agree with you on Maul, and I feel bad. I should tell you no on the General Recan, but like, yeah, that's like, and I think that guy once he comes down, if you don't take him off the board right away, it's just
I mean, he is a
really
5/7
good.
body as well.
Yeah. He's actually I think he's one of the units I'm a lot higher on um overall period.
Yeah, I think he's insane.
Yeah, and I would actually say Bazine is in a category of herself. Like she is in the you include even in an offsuit. because she has hand removal. And in a sealed and draft format, like we're in this limited format, I mean, can you imagine being able to play her even for 4 to say whatever you're going to have is gone?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, and they still redraw the card on other cards. So like, if they don't have particularly incredible cards when you play her,
Sure. Then it doesn't
it
matter.
can backfire a little bit. I think it's actually less good in sealed and draft than it is in constructed. Well, it's
No,
hard.
I like it better in limited. I'm sorry, like I do.
It can get rid of bombs, but there's a higher, like, you're not running that many incredible cards kind
Mhm.
of thing. But also circling back to Cobb Vanth, just anything that puts more units out is generally very good in sealed and draft, just because it's harder for your opponent to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's why I like him a lot.
And the same with I feel that Survivor's Gauntlet is really, really good in limited format. Like I really like that card in limited format. I like the stats on it for its cost, and I like the fact that it can move things around. But
It really depends on what your opponent's playing, though. That's or
well,
you like if you have a lot of upgrades, it's a lot better. If you don't, then it's a decently set spaceship.
yeah. Ex- Except for if they're going to play bounties, I guess, right? Like so
Right.
you have a harder time removing bounties. This thing will do that. So um
Well, it
it
moves
moves
the bounties
it
like it
moves it
doesn't.
around. Yes.
Yeah. For the bad, because I don't really need to go through the okay. You know,
They're
bad
they're what
Elephant
they are.
Man, not gonna do much. Maz, I think, is just not going to do anything like impactful. The Enterprising Lackeys, the Chaos of War, Stolen Land Speeder, Migs, Omega, Let the Wookiee Win, Tobias, Boba Fett's armor, and Altering the Deal. A lot of these are playing around as a particular strategy, and if you don't have those cards, like for sealed, it's a little bit better, but for draft, like you're not going
Mhm.
to like you don't know what cards other people are going to pass you. With sealed, at least you know your whole like set that you're playing with. So like let the Wookiees wins. Like if you don't have a lot of Wookiees or like you got 4 in your deck, like there's no reason to ever take that card. And I think the Stolen Land Speeder honestly is just a little bit too difficult for you to make plays for it to be worth it.
Yeah. Let me kill it so that I have to give a unit plus pay the cost of it to then bring it back for myself. No, thank you.
Yeah. So and then yeah, I mean like some things like the Enterprising Lackeys, right? They it's just their drawback. It's just a little bit too high. So
Yeah, I would agree. Let's move on to uncommons. Even more, even more.
yeah, so uncommons, you're gonna get I believe it's 3 per pack. They're solid. But there's some real good uncommons in this set. So I think like the client is very good in general, and in this game because it's the shielded, and then healing your own base is so good. Like I want to emphasize how good that card is in sealed and draft. So like client, the Garsaxon Gauntlets, Brutal Traditions because it recurs, the Concord Dawn Interceptors, Top Target, Fell the Dragon, Salacious Crumb, Jabba's Rancor. I know you said don't take it without Jabba, but man, that body's huge and hard to deal with, and you're dealing out extra damage.
I'm saying don't take it for 10. For 8,
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes,
for 8, it's fine.
yeah.
100% fine.
The Centauri Peacekeepers, which is just such a silly card. Spark
Mhm.
of Hope, Scanning Officer, Bounty Hunter's Quarry. The Punishing one is just good statted anyways. Kerstanson, Ketsuono, IG-11, Bravado, the Lurking TIE Phantom. He could just be problems. Zuckus, Frozen and Carbonite, L3. Coruscant Descendant, Spare the Target, A New Adventure, Fennec, and Mercenary Gunship.
Yep, and I would say that Bounty Hunter's Quarry, and L337, both of those are like really high up there on like I would take those off offsuits quite a bit. Those are really, really good cards.
And also notice I have Zakas in there and not Forlom. Forlom I think is okay because the 4/4 ambush is fine, but Zakas being like a 6/6 on a 5 body with Saboteur is just disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. So those are just like cards that either will like live longer, have a bonus of some sort, like the client, or like when they die, get another card, or just are very well statted in general, is what those are. Or maybe some like niche control cards, like Frozen Carbonite. Like if they drop a bomb and you're just like, cool, it's now useless. It just sticks on the board. That can be very strong in these kinds of games or the formats. What I think are not good cards, bad cards. Queel. Rose Tico is a little bit too niche. The Armorer, you need a lot of Mandalorians. Midnight Riders, or sorry, Midnight Repairs. Midnight Riders, something different.
Yep.
Midnight Repairs, Remnant Reserves, Freetown Backup, Enforced Loyalty, Head Hunting, the Valiant Assault Ship, Cripple Authority, Bo-Katan, Unlicensed Headhunter, Guild Target, Armed to the Teeth, Bounty Posting, Toro, whatever that guy is. This is the way in Lady Proxima.
Now, I will say, like some of these in here that you have, like if you don't have anything else to fill the spots with, they are okay cards to fill the spots with, but you don't
Yeah,
need them, especially in a draft. You don't need to draft those ones if they're given to you. Sure.
like the armor is kind of on the edge of okay and bad because like the armor can still give herself a shield. It's just like if you don't have a lot of Mandos, you probably don't need to draft the armor.
Exactly.
Or like,
But if she comes back to you at the last thing, you
yeah, like
take her.
she's not bad.
No. Same with Rose. Rose is okay for her stats, but you don't draft her and you only use her in sealed as if like you don't build a deck around her in any way, shape, or form. She's just Merry Christmas, you know?
And it's just like Lady Proxima. Just bad. Just strictly bad, I would say. Like 0/4, 1 cost, and it depends on you playing other cards. Like that's why like that's way down there. And some of the bounties too are just like cool. That would be a lot better if I had more of them in my deck, but like one-offs, um, they just don't do enough. um, which you'll see with like a lot of the bounties, they're like, well, are they impactful enough to run them one off in my deck, or should that be a unit so it's not like a dead draw if I have an empty board state? Because
Exactly.
that's like a lot of it is just like you don't want to brick hands at all, and that's how you lose because you just get behind so much on tempo. But you
Yeah.
want to go? Let's go to the commons because those are the most common. Shocker. These are a majority of what your deck will consist of. So for the good cards, I think like Pike Sentinel, Super Commando Squad, Gentle Giant, the Roshire Tree Tender.
Worcester sauce tree tender.
The Nima Outpost Constables is actually just quite annoying in these things, being that 2/6 Sentinel. I think Convert Strength is an underrated card. Rivals Fall, which is at common.
Mhm.
Clone Disorder, Modded Cohort, Warzone Lieutenant, Discerning Veteran, Timely Intervention, Take Captive, Guavian Antagonizer, Desperado Freighter, Clan Challengers, Covetous Rivals, Daring Raid, Detention, Block Rescue, Cartel Turncoat, Cloud Rider, Fugitive Wookiee, Chain Code Collector, Resourceful Pursuers, Look the Other Way, Black Sun Starfighter, Hunt's Henchman, and Smuggler's Aid. I know you were kind of down on some of these, but I think a lot of them are a lot better in like draft and sealed, like those the Hunt's Henchmen, right?
Mhm.
They're a 3/4 shielded unit.
Yep.
They're
There it
okay. They're actually pretty solid in the Gar Saxon deck, but that's about it.
but they're
Um,
really good in draft and sealed,
yeah,
especially if you get
stickiness.
2 of them because they don't go away.
Yeah, stickiness, like sticky units are huge in sealed and draft. Things like that are shielded or reduce damage somehow, whatever, are very, very good.
Yeah. Like those cartel turncoats. I don't think any of us like that shit, but I'll tell you what, when you're sitting down at a board and going through your drafted sealed and you're like, I got 3 of these. I think I might go ahead and play that type of a deck because they're just that good in this format.
Oh, I like the cartel turncoats outside of sealed
Yeah.
and draft as well, because I think just the one cost 2/3 body with the downside of your opponent drawing a card is worth it.
Yeah. I think timely intervention is something that a lot of people don't like. That card is great if you have to play that suit, but that card is really good because
Oh,
you
just
just
resource it right when you
yeah,
get it, and then you're just like at the perfect time, just ambush whatever you need out.
yeah.
It's so good. For the bad cards that I would not really draft or put in your deck unless you really had to, the rickety quad jumper, as much as that hurts me, it's just not good.
It's a horrible
Just
card.
the hawk, the hawk 290 is just a 2/5 space body. Cool. Public Enemy, Foundling, Vamprace Grapple Shot, Warbird Stowaway, Collection Starhopper, The Weequay Pirate Gang, Outflank, Moment of Glory, Heroic Renegade, Reckless Gunslinger, The Rokai Gunship, Death Mark, Pillage, Smuggler Starfighter, Wanted, Twin Pod Cloud Car, and the Street Game Recruiter.
So I will say the only one I really disagree with is that Reckless Gunslinger. I actually think that's better than a bad card. Not as an
Okay.
offsuit, but I think as if you for what it is worth, it does that extra damage. It's like a free baby Sabine. So I actually like that card because you can smuggle it as well. So
Sure, it's just I know it doesn't seem like it has enough of an impact, honestly. Um, I don't know. It's just the 2/1 body. I it's probably like between okay and bad. Honestly, I just looking at it like a 2/1 for one is fine. Deal 1 damage to each base though. Smuggle, sure, okay,
yeah,
sure.
I will say I will say twin pod cloud car. How many of those are you gonna get in that? So like you should count. So folks, if you're watching this and you're playing in sealed and draft events, count how many of these damn things you get and report back to us. I just want to know.
And then send him to JJ.
And send them to JJ. JJ will play every one of them. Like I hate that card so much. I'm sorry, I don't like that card.
But it's a 2/2 for 3.
And you get a restore.
Hmm.
No, thank you.
Yes,
When the restore, I guess is it a
it's on
uh,
attack.
no, I know, but is it a space unit or a ground unit?
Space.
Okay, so I guess stocks go up a micro fraction because it's a space unit and it gives you another space unit to play. That's about
Yeah,
it. Don't draft
yeah.
it.
I mean, I would just forego having that ship though. If uh, mm, like even if I'm like, well, I need space units, I'm probably not going to take the twin pod cop car.
Yeah, it's just in my opinion, it's trash tier. Like I don't understand why they made that card. That's like,
If it was like a 2/3, it'd be fine. This is the
yep,
2/2 that kills me.
yeah, because anything kills it. Anything kills it before it can even restore your base. Um,
It's great for your opponent to put bounties on.
yep.
But yeah, so those are just kind of like a real quick and dirty. These are cards that I would say that you should draft and or put in your sealed deck. Mostly just look out for things. You want your common cards to be like decently statted or have Sentinel. Because Sentinel's huge in that. You want your uncommon cards to have like good stats and like start supporting other things. Your rares is kind of what you want them to have an immediate impact on the board. You want to be able to play these, and then your legendaries are kind of like what you build a deck around.
Yeah.
And that's a good summation.
Yeah. And I think what we'll do is I was gifted some pre-release kits. So I'm going to make a video where we take the principles that we just talked about, and I'm going to deconstruct a pre-release kit, and I'll video record it, and hopefully it'll look good enough. I have 3 webcams, so we're going to try to make this work, and see if I can get it to work. And we're going to make a video where we go through the actual process. So everything Alex and I have talked about tonight, we're going to go through. And what we'll do is I'll put a specific part 2 video out to this academy training, and so I'll segment this out, and then I'll put another part 2 out and kind of link the 2 of them together for you. And you know what, I got plenty of time this week. I'll figure out a time. I actually have no time this week, but I'll figure out a time and I'll get it recorded, because I do have some pre-release kits that were gifted to the show, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll open one of those on camera and do that. And maybe if we have enough time, maybe I'll open a second one and send it to Alex and have him build the deck, and maybe we'll play each other. I don't know. Right now, all of it's going to depend. With a holiday week this week, it's going to be really hard, I think, to get a lot of that. But I promise you, I promise you, there will be a part 2 video that you can watch that is related to this video coming up. With that being said, thank you everybody for joining us for this academy training, where we talk about drafting and sealing strategy wise, talk about the cards for Shadows of the Galaxy and what it is and how you can be successful at it. All right. With that being said, next week, we will be doing a show next week. It will be probably a more limited show. I don't know. And it's probably just going to be a show of us talking about what we want. There's going to be, unless Alex has a topic that's burning at hand, it is going to probably just be a reflection on the fact that Alex and I spent way too much time going to pre-releases, and we're going to show off the cards we got and talk about our experiences and why we're excited for set 2. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going on vacation for the week after, so I technically have the next week off, so I can stay up all night, but Alex cannot. And I don't know if JJ will be back from vacation or not at that time, but so next week is, I'll be honest, I don't have a big structure for next week. So next week's going to be kind of our for fun episode. If we have time, we'll build a few decks maybe, and just say, hey, these are our decks for set 2 that we're kind of looking towards. I won't guarantee you anything though, and I'm not going to put any pressure on Alex, because I know as of now I'm already signed up for 3 pre-releases with 2 more on the books. And I remember what happened for set 1. That's what Alex did. We went to like 5 pre-releases each, and it was just like, I don't know. I think you hit 6 actually, didn't you? You hit 6.
Had 4.
Oh, okay. You only had 4. I went to more than you did. Wow.
I did 4 in 2 days.
Okay, well, that's more than I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did 5 in 4 days worth, but anyway, so that's kind of what our next week. We're gonna have a very light, open episode where we just talk about what we're excited about, what we got. Spoiler: there's a pre-release box that had one specific pack that had 2 of the legendaries that Alex ranked as insanely bad. So we'll see if those come out or not. But anyway, it's been a fun episode. Thank you, Alex, as always, for joining me on the mic tonight. Our shorter episode went for 2 hours again, so I don't know what to say.
Oh, you thought this was going to be a shorter episode?
Yeah, I thought we'd be able to go through these. Well, I thought with 2 of us we could burn through things fast, but we did not. With that being said, please, if you celebrate the 4th, please make sure that you are safe. If you don't celebrate the 4th, then have fun with a free day off if you're in the US, or if you're in Canada, I don't know, or Europe, I don't know what days off you get, but in the US, yeah, more than us. In the US, we get to celebrate with 1 day of fireworks and PTSD and anxiety and everything. So I am not a big firework person anymore. I used to be when I was younger. But it's probably because I was heavily medicated, and now the medications I'm on is different. They're more legal medications that they don't work as well, and so I don't like fireworks very much. They're not something I care for. But if you do celebrate, just be careful and mindful of everybody else. And we will be back with a shorter episode next week. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we will see you on the Flippity Flop.
Thanks for listening.